Hello, this video is going to cover an assignment. It's going to be sort of an introduction to Google Sheets as well as a little bit about Google Classroom. So this will be your first assignment on Google Classroom. You'll see here, this is the classroom here. It's called Physics Third Trimester. I believe mine looks different than yours. I think in order to access the file, you need to actually click on this. You'll click on this, and again, mine will look different, so I can't really show you, but when you click on this, there should be, click on the words, there should be like a file that'll come up, and then you click that. Obviously mine looks different because it's the teacher view, but when you are on here, you'll click on this, and then there'll be a file that should say Graphing Motion Lab Day 2. And when you click on that, it should look like this, basically. And so if you're there, then you're so far so good. Now, Google Sheets is a it's a program that is essentially like if you've ever used Microsoft Excel before. It is pretty much the exact same. It's just Google's form of spreadsheet software. And so what you can do with this is I've given you some data here. You see, and this should kind of look familiar. You've done some things similar to this. You see I have time in one column here, displacement in the next column. So you can imagine that you had gathered this data. This might be the various displacement data for some person or some object at different times for 10 seconds. And so we're going to, on this assignment, you have some instructions here. First instruction says complete the chart on the left. You can do the velocity calculation each time, or you could write an equation into the program. And I should actually say velocity or acceleration, but basically we need to complete this chart. Now, you could do the formula, which is what this says, right? And when I say the formula, I'm talking about this formula right here, right? Velocity is equal to the change in displacement divided by the change in time. I mean, you could do that. And so it would go like this. It would be 2 minus 0, the change in displacement, divided by 1 minus 0. And you could do that. On top you would get 2, on the bottom you get 1, and I would get my velocity is equal to 2. The problem is I would have to do that every single time. So I have to do 4 minus 2 over 2 minus 1. 6 minus 4 over 3 minus 2, and so forth. And it just takes a little bit of time. And you don't necessarily have to do that, because one of the cool things about a program like Google Sheets is that you can tell Google how to calculate this. This is like this whole program is like a big calculator. You can tell it how to calculate something, and it'll do it instantly. And I can do it in, if I was just going at my own pace, I could probably get this whole column done in about 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. But that's not really an overestimation. It really would take about 10 seconds to get this whole column done. So it's a really powerful tool to be able to do this. And the way it works is you need to tell Google how to calculate this. And anytime you want to tell Google how to calculate, you want to start with an equal sign. By putting an equal sign, you're telling, hey, I'm about to give you an equation, and I want you to figure out, I want you to do the math on this and tell me what the result is. Now, I could actually plug in the numbers. Notice I'm going to use parentheses so my order of operations doesn't get messed up. 2 minus 0 divided by 1 minus 0. Oops, close parentheses. And when I hit equal, it should give me the correct answer, which should be 2. And it did. And see here, if I click this, it still tells me up here what I actually did to get that answer. But I don't really want that, because that's kind of not very useful. I have to do this every single time, right? I have to go through, and it's not really quicker. But what I can do is notice that there's sort of a pattern here, right? Instead of telling Google what the number is, why don't I tell Google what cell I'm talking about? And when I say cell, so again, I have the equal sign, I'm using my parentheses, so it's, all the same up here. When I say cell, I'm talking about, okay, what is this cell right here? Well, it's kind of like a grid system, right? It's B3. So I'm saying, hey, Google, take B3. Notice how to immediately pick that up, but B3 and it minus B2, close parentheses, divided by, on the bottom I want A3 minus A2. Close parentheses. Now, when I hit equal this time, it'll still give me 2, and I'm going to show you in just a minute why why this 2 is so much more useful. Because notice it still has that equation up there. And let me show you one more time. You can actually just click on the cells too, which is probably what you want to do a lot of times. So this cell, notice it immediately clicked B3 minus this cell, divided by, whoops, the question mark's not going to do well, divided by this one minus this one. So again, you can click instead of type, or you can type, either way. But now what's really, really powerful is Google now kind of sees a pattern here. They say, okay, this minus that divided by this minus that. And if I take, you see this little box down here, see how it becomes a crosshair when I get there? If I take this and I drag it down, it will apply this equation to that entire column. Bam, I immediately got my velocities. Pretty cool. All right, so you should get all those velocities immediately. Now, I'm not going to show you acceleration, but it's the same idea, right? The only difference is for acceleration is a change in velocity divided by a change in time. So this time you're going to change in velocity, but you are going to type that one out yourself. So again, you could just calculate if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to take the shortcut, if you want to be faster, more efficient, figure out what the equation is and type that equation into this box using the cells, the cell notation. And if you do that, then you can just drag it down and you should have it. But okay, so you're going to finish that. I'm moving on to 2 here. After completing the chart, you would copy and paste your data into the displacement versus time sheet. Then highlight your data, click. Okay, so we're going to make a chart. So if you see down here, these are called different sheets, by the way. So this sheet is called data. I named it that. You could rename it if you wanted to. I mean, there's no real reason to, but you could. Displacement versus time. So if I click on it, you see I've already labeled time in this column and displacement in this column. So let's go ahead and put our data in. Now, again, you could type it. You could say, okay, well, it's going to go there. But you can also, probably faster, is copy and paste. Now, from what I understand, on your Chromebooks, you cannot right-click copy. Okay, so you're going to have to use the shortcut. So you'll highlight this. You'll hit Control-C. They should both be with your left hand there. Just Control-C. It'll immediately copy it. See how it even gave me those little kind of dashed lines around showing that's been copied. So I'm going to go over here. Under time, I'm going to paste. Again, there's a shortcut, Control-V. And I might be misremembering. It might not work like that on your Chromebooks. So if it doesn't, then all you got to do is this. Okay, we're going to do displacement 2. Highlight it, hit Edit, Copy. And I know one of the ways on the Chromebooks it just doesn't work as well. Edit, Paste. There we go. So we now have our displacement and our time, and we want to create a chart. Now, to create graphs on Microsoft Excel, or excuse me, not Excel, but Google Sheets, it's actually pretty easy to do. We want to highlight our data, insert, chart. Now, it automatically thinks you kind of want this, I guess, bar graph, but you don't. You really want this type right here. So, okay, for recommendations, it gives you that. You can go to chart types here, and notice how it's kind of plotting 2 different things. This blue line is constantly going up. That's actually your time. You don't want it to copy the time. You actually want to use column A as labels is what you want to click. Because it thinks you want to plot both. You actually want to plot this, and you want this to be your label. So use column A as labels. And all of a sudden, okay, hey, this is looking pretty good. And there are lots of things you can do. You can play around with this, but for now, I'm just going to hit Insert. And there we go. That didn't take very long. This isn't a good graph yet, though, because, hey, if I said, what's this graph, you would have no idea. We need to do a little bit of work on this. And so to do that, you can go Advanced Edit is really where you want to go. And there are tons of options here. First of all, I see I can give my chart a title. Well, you should know what the title wants to be. It should be displacement, or it should be displacement versus time. And so you'd immediately put that up there. This legend stuff, I want to get rid of it because that's that little line. I mean, if you left it there, it's not a big deal, but we don't really need it. Then you can add your title axes. So this is the horizontal title. So what's being plotted on the horizontal axis? Well, that should be time. And then also don't forget to put your unit. That's in seconds. All right. And we can change so that's the horizontal axis. Now let's change the vertical. Of course, they say left vertical, but we only really have one vertical axis. And this should be displacement. And that's in meters. Now this is looking good. You can feel free to play around with this. You can change the little points to stars. You can change the colors. Do whatever you want. But I do want to see the main things I want to see are a title and axes labels. And there we go. So you'll kind of repeat this process for the others. It's just that on the others you're going to use velocity versus time and acceleration versus time. But I think that is all I have. Then you'll just answer the questions at the end. But again, my number one hint to you would be, if you're struggling with something, what's really, really cool about this stuff being on Google is that you can Google any of your answers. Okay, I think something just stopped, but I think it's okay. I'm still recording. You can Google any of your answers. If I don't know how to make a chart, how do I make a chart? How do I make a chart on Google Sheets? I mean, if I type that in, how do I make a chart on Google Sheets? And there's going to be tons of resources because, hey, you're using Google to find out something about Google products, and it's literally here. So, anytime you have problems, I mean, you're more than welcome to ask me, but, if you want to try to be a bit proactive, see if you can figure it out on your own. There's tons of support sites, there's YouTube videos. I mean, there are a lot of resources that you can use. So hopefully this was helpful. Good luck.